Jaman!
Greetings.
Hello.
Greet my greeting.
Well met.
I greet you.
Greetings, traveler.
Greetings, friend.
The pleasure is mine.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Concede. This week's episode is episode 161, and we are a Hearthstone podcast dedicated to making the competitive side of the game more accessible to you. From the Maelstrom, Louisiana, it's me, Appa. Joining us from Gadsden, New York, it's Ridiculous Hat.
Do I get to go second again now?
Yeah, I'm just gonna mix it up. I'm just gonna flip a coin each week, and it's gonna be a 50-50. So you won the 50-50 this week.
I think we should have a battle
Okay.
royale.
Is it a mental coin? I assume it's a mental coin.
Yes,
Okay.
So you're going to arbitrarily choose.
yes,
Okay,
I like that too.
that's fine.
and from Karazhan, California, it's Botticus.
Hi, I'm going to interrupt early before you introduce me and say things.
That's
Understood.
rude, and I won't stand for it.
Well, too bad. Now that we're not hanging out in person,
Aw.
what are you going to do about it?
Be sad
Yeah, me
and
too.
and miss you guys and not have In-N-Out Burger. It's just a net negative. Why would you even bring that up?
Did you have In-N-Out again on the way back?
No, but when we get to processing, I'll discuss my ride back because it bears discussion.
Was it worse than your ride there?
Yes, you drove me
Okay, good.
there, and it started with In-N-Out Burger. What?
Hey,
Why?
I don't know. Maybe.
Yes, you do.
maybe I just-
Yes, you do. You were well aware. This is not a questionable thing. Appa, would you like to talk about our newest patron before we start talking
Yeah,
about
I was
this?
gonna say, let's do a podcast.
Yeah, let's do that.
So Concede is supported in large part by you, the listener. If you'd like to find out how you can support us and receive rewards in return, head on over to patreon.com/Concede. And big thanks this week to, I'm gonna try and pronounce this correctly. Is it Madeline? Maddie Line? Is that
Yes, Madeline.
you're drawing arrows in the middle of this person's name.
I'm syllabizing. I'm making it
This is
phonetic.
not how phonetics works.
It's. You said it
All right,
correctly.
thanks to Madeline G for being our
See?
newest patron, and I'm sorry for initially butchering your name and then getting confused because of these arrows that Hat made.
It's
We
fine.
should just leave those in the show notes to show people what's going on.
It's
on right
nobody.
now.
Nobody would ever believe you.
All right, so let's talk about what life's been like and what our weekend and past week's been like. So let's start with Botticus.
So last week was BlizzCon. We recorded an episode that should be out by the time this comes out. So that was fun. It was awesome to see you two. I'm really sad that it's over, and I realize that you are now across the country, and I won't see you again for a long time. But yeah, the experience was a lot of fun. My first BlizzCon inside the doors, which was a unique experience because there was a lot of security. But yeah, I played a fair bit of Hearthstone while I was there, kind of in between doing things. I was playing Resurrect Priest because I wanted to beat up on a bunch of hunters and druids, and I swear that is the only reason I was playing Priest. There are no other reasons why I would ever want to play Priest except for beating up on the decks I really wanted to beat. And that's my final answer.
Seems good.
Yeah, it was pretty good. I got up to about middle of rank 3, and we'll see how the rest of the month goes.
Yeah, I mean, BlizzCon was great. We're gonna have the bonus episode that we recorded up fairly soon, but it was a lot of fun seeing you guys, and I am sad that it is over, but also happy that I do not have to board an aircraft for a significant period of time because I hate flying so much. Yeah, BlizzCon was great though, but being back home, I'm kind of just decompressing and relaxing from BlizzCon because I think we'll get into this a little bit later, but conventions actually get to be more stressful than relaxing for me. And just being around that many people at once was it was kind of a lot. So kind of just hanging out right now, chilling on ladder. I'm I am still playing a decent amount of Hearthstone, but right now, I mean, I've talked about this before that I've actually like where the meta is at right now, and I still believe that it's very healthy and it's a good meta, but I'm honestly just kind of bored with it right now. So I'm gonna start streaming daily starting tomorrow, Tuesday the 8th, and I'll probably stream a couple hours of Hearthstone a day, but to be completely honest and transparent, that's probably just going to be all the Hearthstone I play for right now until the new set comes out or something changes because I'm just kind of bored with most of the decks right now. I've played them all significant amount. I understand a lot of them pretty well, and I just don't really have too much that I enjoy playing outside of like even Shaman, Shutterbox Shaman, and then like some goofy off the wall decks. So just kind of hanging out, taking it easy a little bit. The meta's, I would say, mostly solved. It's been mostly solved for a while. And I mean, the Mana Worm nerf kind of shook stuff up, but for the most part, things have remained generally the same. So a little bored with it, but I'm still playing. But I've also been reintroduced to Eternal. Compliments of Bodicus and Hat, so I blame both of y'all. But I'm having fun playing that game. Just learning a new game again, just having that sense of progression, and having different stuff to do is a lot of fun. And I also downloaded my free copy of Destiny 2 that I got from being at BlizzCon, and I downloaded the demo for WoW Classic. Don't worry, you're not losing me to Eternal, but I'm just having fun with it right now while I'm a little bored with how stale the meta is. But yeah, that's kind of what I've been doing right now.
Don't
But
forget,
yeah.
we're also losing you to Destiny and WoW Classic. Also, to be fair, nobody is getting lost to WoW Classic except my time for maybe 30 minutes until I realize I'd rather be doing not this. Because I think we all played... Did you do WoW Classic at BlizzCon, Appa?
I did not. The games I played at BlizzCon, I did Diablo Mobile, which was sweet, by the way.
Yeah.
I did the Hearthstone Tavern Brawl like 30 times. And I think that's it, actually. Yeah, I don't think I waited in line for WoW, Warcraft, or anything else because I didn't play any of those games whenever they were out, so I wasn't like too interested in them. But I want to try WoW Classic. Not sure I'm gonna like it, but I want to try it. So
You should try... So, we'll get into it a little bit. Actually, I guess you keep going. I'm just rambling now. Unless you're done.
oh, I was done.
So the thing about WoW Classic is it's like current WoW, except you take all the things, the quality of life improvements, and you just get rid of them all. And so you have players playing for 20 minutes fighting over Pale Strider beaks, which is a single beak that drops from a single Pale Strider, which two of them, if you fight them at the same time, will kill you. But if you kill one, it's boring, you hit the same button. But then, no matter how many players kill it, it drops one beak. And then whoever picks it up has it, and nobody else has, and you need 7 of them. And the BlizzCon demo had a line that was probably about 30 minutes long, and they had over 100 computers there, not to mention the people playing from home. And so, killing the Pale Striders and getting the beaks was just, it became a numbers game. You had to either zone in and be the first one to click, or go find some unattended Pale Striders, and kill exactly 1 but not 2, because 2 of them would kill you. And then collect the beaks. And that was one of the 5 or 6 quests you could get, which I completed none of the quests. I did die twice, and I had to run back to my body because you couldn't get mounts back then until level 30, and they gave us level 15 characters. And after the second time doing that, I said, you know what? I'm going to go see if I can get the Warcraft 3 demo. Because this is just the game I like, but worse and older. And that was my WoW Classic time. And I'm not going to say there are people that won't enjoy it. I think it's a super smart business decision for Blizzard to include it in the regular WoW subscription. Because right now, between expansions, people just unsubscribe and they won't do that. They'll just go play WoW Classic. Super smart. That ain't the game for me.
How did Warcraft 3 go for you, Hat?
So, okay. How it went in terms of happiness per second, extremely high. But
Whenever Hat prefaces something with "okay," I feel like it's going to be a good meme.
well, so I sat down with, I think it was Kenny, who we were able to run into on Friday at the show in Botticus. And I don't think Kenny had played Warcraft 3, the original, before, and Bott had years and years ago. And I remember really loving Warcraft 3 back in the day. I played through the entire campaign. I was a big strategy nerd back when that was the genre on PC. And so it pops up normal or hard mode. And Botticus and Kenny intelligently chose normal mode, and I said, whatever, I'm not a pansy, I'm going to choose hard mode. And the game was hard. Way harder than I remember. And now thinking back on it, I spent a lot of hours playing a single-player game because I failed a bunch of the missions because they're very difficult. And this was not any different. It felt like how games felt 15 years ago, where the primary replayability was you dying. And there was a front that destroyed my base from the east that I didn't know about while I was invading, and Mal'Ganis kicked my butt when I tried to burn down the houses and kill the innocent villagers before they turned to zombies. Ton of fun, but I got my butt handed to me, and I can't wait to play it again. It was great.
I feel like we need that surprise Pikachu face meme where it's like, Hat chooses hard mode, game is hard, surprise
Yes.
Pikachu face.
Yes, I think, yeah. I mean, I shouldn't have been surprised, but here we are. And I'm really glad I made the choices that I did. And it makes me want to play the game more. And when it comes out, I'm taking a week off. Like, I'm jamming it. That's happening.
Yeah, so we go more in depth about our Blizzcon experience and the other games that we played in the bonus episode, so keep an eye out for that. But for now, let's jump into the news.
Yeah. Well, I got more to talk about.
You got more to talk about?
More to talk
Look,
about.
man, I'm just trying to not ramble on too long about other games.
Have you?
'cause we are a Hearthstone
Okay.
podcast.
Well, we're on Concede, so you may have made the wrong choice as to which podcast to be a member of. Because I think that ship has not only sailed, it's found a new continent called New Podcastia. And we talk about random stuff. But also, I just wanted to make sure I actively said it outright. I'm not really playing Hearthstone right now. I logged in today for the first time this month to clear out my 100 gold quest with Kick Punch. Thank you very much, Kick Punch. And I like the free gold, but I'm just getting the card back and staying in touch with the community. THL is over for the season. UHL is over for me. I'm not playing at the moment, and I'm excited to talk about the new cards. I'm staying connected to the media, but I'm pretty actively not engaged with the gameplay right now because I don't find it interesting. Not that the meta is unhealthy, not that the meta is unbalanced, just I don't have anything to do in the game, so I'm not logging in. I'm spending my time elsewhere. I'm spending a good amount of time in Eternal, a good amount of time in World of Warcraft, staying in touch with Hearthstone, but right now I don't have a goal. I don't have a thing to do in the client, so I'm not logging in. I wanted to make sure I was clear with the listeners on it. And also, I promised you all a Lyft driver story. So, unless you have a comment on that first.
I mean, I have some good Lyft driver stories.
Well, so
from
why
California.
are we not sharing that?
All right, you know what? News can wait.
See?
Screw the news.
This is Concede. Come on.
Okay, I'm just gonna tell y'all a story about.
Your life got
think it
turned all
was-
upside down?
I think it was the first Lyft we had in California, and I tweeted about it, and Lyft responded to me like almost instantly, and it was really funny. But we got picked up from LAX. We flew into LAX, and then we drove to like 10 minutes outside of the Anaheim Convention Center. But our Lyft driver got there, and we were like, "Hey," he's like, "Lyft for Jeffrey?" I'm like, "Yeah, it's me." I'm like, we got in the car and everything. We were like, "Okay, we're going to this hotel here," and then he just doesn't say a word to us for like the entire 45-minute drive. Instead, he doesn't have any he doesn't have a Bluetooth headset in, he doesn't have any headphones in, nothing. He just sits in the front stares at the road, just looks angry, swerving in and out of traffic, braking in the middle of the highway, no cars in front of him, and is just angrily muttering to himself the entire ride. Just under his breath, in Spanish, just muttering to himself. I'm just like, I don't understand what you're saying, but I can tell by the tone and inflection that it is not good, and I am scared. So that ride was something else. And then okay, I thought it was only one lift story, but the first day that we had to go to the convention center, we got a lift, and this lady was on something. She showed up and she was talking super fast and was just really jittery and was way too about it at like 7 in the morning. It was like, what's going on? So she's like, where y'all going? Anaheim Convention Center. So she just ignores the GPS on her phone that tells her the mathematical quickest way to get there is like, that line's red. I know a faster way. And I'm like, you don't. GPS is telling you that you do not. So we ended up getting lost for like 20 minutes. And she pulls into this like parking lot or this like gate at a hotel that leads into a parking garage. And she's like, I'll just pull in here. It'll be all right. And then she's like, okay, I don't know where we are. So she just stops and lets us out. And Taylor and I are just like, all right, we're getting out of here. This lady is insane. And as we're getting out, the like security guard at the hotel's like, you can't get out here. And we're like, well, it's happening. Like, we're getting out, we're walking on the sidewalk, deal with it. So those were two interesting Lyft drivers we had. It was our whole experience with Lyft that trip was just awful.
Do you think with BlizzCon they just had to call in the B team? Like there was just too many cars being summoned, so they just activated the reserves, like the comedy movie where all these soldiers that haven't fought in 40 years have to get together and it's comedy?
I guess. I mean, I think we got dropped off at our destination once. I think we got dropped off at the right destination a single time out of the 7 Lyft drivers that we had.
That is a low success rate.
Yeah, we low rolled the Lyft drivers pretty hard.
Oh boy. Well, I think you had worse overall luck than us, but I will say that our driver back, we picked a far airport, Burbank Airport, which is pretty far from the Anaheim Convention Center. It was an hour and a half drive. We got a good direct flight to it, a good deal on the price. And it's a nice airport, so we wanted to fly out of there. On the way there, Botticus was grateful enough to pick us up. He stopped. We got In-N-Out Burger. It was fantastic. On the way back, we get a lift, and we get Larry. And Larry looks like a Larry. Got his suspenders, got his plaid button-up shirt, his khakis that are hiked up a little too high. He is Larry.
My dude, Larry.
And he asked where we're going, and he gets out of the car. I'd estimate his age at 70. I put the suitcase in. We say where we're going. We say Burbank, and he says, "Oh, where's that?" And I look him dead in the eye because I assumed he was joking. I was waiting for the laugh. There was no laugh. He did not laugh. So, get in the car. Larry is doing the thing that is stereotypical for people of men of his age, where he is muttering to himself constantly and talking like there's a conversation. There's no conversation. Just like looking at the road. Okay, here we go. And it's like, I'm not your kid. And he says he's been with Lyft about 3 months. And then he says, let's see if I can make my phone work. He begins live action narrating his button presses. I can see the screen because he has it set to full magnification. Okay, pick up Ben. Okay, I got Ben. Okay, get directions. Oh, here we go, it's working, and it starts talking. He puts the phone down, it stops talking to him. Now, at this time, I had put maps on my own phone because trust was at an all-time low in this Lyft drive. And
this relationship was predicated on zero trust.
And so after about 3 turns, his phone stops talking to him. Like, yeah, we're just going to go this road the whole way. And he's like, oh, you got the directions on your phone? You have an iPhone? You good with this stuff? And he's like, I don't have an iPhone. He's like, well, maybe you can take a look at it and see why my phone's not talking to me. Now, he gives me the phone. I then press the navigation button and hand it back to him, saying, oh, yeah, the navigation was turned off. He says, oh, how about that? And this is while he's driving, of course. This is while I'm fixing it. And then
Larry sounds adorable.
We're making small talk. And do either of you watch The Simpsons? Or are you familiar with The Simpsons? Do you know the meme, so I tied an onion to my belt?
I do not. Well,
I
I
was not
didn't, but I
aware
looked it
of-
up after
Okay,
you tweeted
right.
about it.
There's an episode where Grandpa Simpsons plays a, similar to what I said before, an old Union strike breaker, except they're much older now, and they say their main weapon is telling stories that don't go anywhere, which starts with, so I tied an onion to my belt and rambles for a while. Well, Larry made it very clear he was looking for a conversation, and me and my girlfriend Kite made it clear that we weren't so much, but, we wanted to be polite. So he asked what I did, I told him, and then, I tried to explain virtual reality to him, and that just didn't go well for anybody. And then I asked, what did you do, Larry? And he starts talking. He starts talking about a business that he closed in 1979, and that's what he used to do. And then he said, and I was out to dinner one night, and someone came up to me and said, I overheard you and your wife talking. Have you ever sold real estate in Spain? And about 10 minutes later, I'm not sure how we got here, but he starts telling a story about how he almost walked Nancy Reagan down the aisle for Ronald at Princess Di's wedding. And yes, Appa's face is saying what I need to say. And audio listeners, I apologize you can't see it, but imagine a furrowed brow with a deep misunderstanding of the situation. That's where we were. You recreated it perfectly. So the story went for a while. We got the full tale of Larry, and Larry is a sweetheart. But it was an hour and a half in a car, and we were cranky in post-BlizzCon and just wanted to go home. And this was the hurdle that we had to slog through. So
This part of that story reminds me that the crazy, like cocained up Lyft driver that we had that dropped us off in the middle of a parking garage, like 3 blocks away. Whenever she decided to not take the route that was on her GPS, she turned around while driving. She turned around to us and said, "Do y'all know where to go?" We're like, "We're not from here." And then, like 30 seconds later, she was like, "Do I go left here?" We're like, "We don't know. We are
it's,
from
God.
Louisiana."
oh
She's like,
boy.
"I guess I should take this road all the way down. Is that right?" We're like, "We don't know."
It was unclear that nobody was in control. I will say that, Larry, if you're listening to this, I got after our ride, I got the pop of my phone to ask how to review you, and I didn't know how to answer. So I did not dock your score. I just closed the app. I did not review you. Did not knock you down. Did not lift you up. Did not touch your score. Because I appreciate that you are who you are, but I wasn't in a good state of mind to review you at that moment, so I passed.
Multiple of our Lyft drivers got 2 stars, and Taylor was like, 2 stars? You didn't give him 1? I'm like, look, they got us there alive. So that's at least 1 star.
My favorite part about Hat's story is trying to figure out when it diverged and ended up not being my dad being your Lyft driver. Because during the whole story, it just sounded like you were talking about my dad.
In a way, Larry is
from
all of our
Anaheim.
dads. Larry is a dad. He is the dad.
I actually...
My dad's name is Larry, and he has lots of problems with his phone, and would not be surprised until you got to the part where you talked about Nancy walking Nancy Reagan down the aisle. I was for sure about to text my dad and ask him when he started driving for Lyft.
Yeah. And spoilers, by the way, he didn't end up doing that because he got diarrhea, which he told us, and so Nancy Reagan walked down the aisle alone. This was information that was given to us freely. It was not requested, and we cannot unknow it now, so I'm sharing it with you, so you may know my pain. Appa, are you ready for the news, buddy?
1 second. So, my life being a meme, the saga of my life being a meme continued actually at BlizzCon, and I didn't find this out until later, but the hotel that we stayed in, so full disclosure, we stayed about 10 minutes away on purpose because it was the cheapest hotel in the vicinity, like per night. And apparently it was a mistake because they had bed bugs. And
it was the cheapest for a reason.
so they didn't have bed bugs on the bed, they had bed bugs on the floor. And we found this out because whenever I go to sleep, I just kind of shed my clothes and put them on the floor next to the bed. And then I go to sleep and I cocoon up. Yeah. And about halfway through, I think it was Saturday, or maybe it was Friday. Friday was the opening day, right? It was the first day that we were there. Not the calm before the storm, but the opening day of BlizzCon.
Yeah, Friday.
Yeah, so about halfway through Friday, I was like, "Why are my feet so itchy?" I was just scratching myself because I wear the like mid calf like Nike athletic socks because I think they're really comfortable. And I was like scratching my calf, and then my foot was itchy. I'm like, "Why am I so itchy? This is weird." And I didn't think any more of it. So we get back to the hotel, and like I take my socks off, and I just have like a couple little red marks on my feet. I'm like, maybe I got bit by mosquitoes or something, like the night before we left. But whenever we got back home from the trip, I took my socks off. I'm like, oh my God. Taylor's like, what? I'm like, look at my feet. I just have red marks everywhere. I was like, what could these be from? Like, did they have bed bugs? She's like, I didn't get bit by any. It's like while I was laying down. But she had like her stuff on the little table in the room. She didn't put anything on the floor. So I Googled bed bug bites, and that is exactly what they are. Just all up and down my legs, just covered in bed bug bites. So the manager of the hotel, while we were leaving, he was asking us how everything was, and I didn't realize they had bed bugs at this time. And we were like, "Yeah, everything's fine." He's like, "Okay, if you enjoyed your stay, just leave us a review on Yelp." So I took a picture of these bed bugs, these bites on my legs, and this man is getting a savage review. It's not going to go well for him. But yeah, that was something that happened. Overall, good experience. Just had some crazy stuff happen.
Yes. Despite the 10 minutes of garbage nonsense, we had a good time. Even though Appa's feet literally got eaten by insects, and I had to hear about Larry's diarrhea. News? Wanna do the news?
News. Let's do the news.
So, if you haven't heard, and I don't know why you would have not heard this, but the new set has been announced from BlizzCon. We talked about it on our bonus episode, but it's named Rastakhan's Rumble. It's going to come out on December 4th, and they added a new bundle, but instead of going the way they went with the last bundle, they went the opposite way. So now there's a more affordable bundle for those of you who are looking to do a pre-order but maybe not spend as much. It's going to be $19.99 for 17 packs and the card back. And then they moved the hero portrait that was in the $80 bundle last time. They moved that down into the normal 50 card pack bundle. The expansion will have 135 new cards. The two main mechanics are overkill, which says when you basically deal more damage to a minion than it has health. So if you have a 3 health minion and you deal 4 damage to it, that is considered overkilling it. And the other one is spirits, which I believe are kind of each class is going to have a minion that is a 0/3 that has stealth for a turn, and then has a effect for it being in play. So yeah, usually they are supposed to work well with the Loa for each of the different factions. What are we calling them?
There's the troll champion and the lower, the two
I
cycles.
was just calling them teams.
The teams. That's right.
Yeah.
So let's see what else. You will get a legendary Loa just for logging in when the set goes live, and 2 spirits for your Loa's class, as well as 6 card packs. The solo content will be Rumble runs released 9 days after the expansion, so it looks like they're shortening that time a little bit. And let's see. This is the one that we were all able to play at BlizzCon. Kind of a different version of this, where there's going to be a passive shrine that sits on your board for the player, and prize fighters are earned after each clear, so you can go back and do it again. So, what do we think, guys? Do we have anything else to add about the announcement of the new set?
Yes, the entire Decksplanations section.
Yeah, I was gonna say we're gonna get into that in Decksplanations, but during the like Rumble run that we got to play at BlizzCon, I think I played with Bodicus the first time. Did you have Warlock or did I have Warlock? I think you had Warlock.
No, we didn't play. I played against Kenny, and I killed him on turn 4.
We
Or
didn't
turn
play at all.
3. No, I just remember getting the thing that doubled my spells and getting to play. I backstabbed and killed his minion, and then double cold-blooded my minion to kill his shrine on turn 2.
Oh,
It
that's
was
right. We played Diablo Mobile together. That's what it was.
Yeah, that was fun.
Well, then it must have been Taylor and I that played the first time. But anyways, one of us had the Warlock Shrine, and what that one says is whenever you take damage, your opponent takes that damage instead. And turn 1 Crystallizer Coin Crystallizer, pretty good. That happened against me, and I was like, oh, Pyroblast make 2/3s. Okay.
Gain 10 armor.
Yeah, gain 10. So that happened, and I was like, this one's unfair. But that was a lot of fun to play. So I'm excited for that solo content. It'll be nice if it's not just another rehash of like the dungeon run and monster hunt kind of stuff, and like a little more of a twist on that. But from what I played, it was fun. So
Yeah, you have to go through it to unlock different characters, and they all have that different passive on the field. So I think it'll probably have more replayability. And the article they actually talked about it at the panel at BlizzCon about the nature of single player content, how it evolved. There's a really cool article from Hearthstone that's a recap of it, and how they needed to solve the replayability. And something like Frozen Throne was super linear, and they got better with Monster Hunt and Dungeon Run, and then puzzles were high engagement but low replayability. And they're really experimenting with how to make that how to find the balance between those two things. So I have faith that there will be a lot going on here.
Yeah, so that should be exciting when all that gets released. The next little news item we have here is going to be a Hearthstone update that just happened a couple days ago. Actually, I think it just went live yesterday, if I remember correctly. But basically, the bundles are live for purchase, pre-purchase, and new classic cards are now live in game. So those 4 cards that they added to kind of replace the cards that got Hall of Famed are now live in Hearthstone for those of you who are opening classic packs. Like if you opened your Tavern Brawl classic pack today, maybe you got one of these new 4 cards from it. Not a whole lot else to say about the update. Although today something went live where they were celebrating 1 million players, or sorry, 100 million players. That's a lot. So you can log in between today, November 7th, and the 11th to receive 6 Boomsday packs just for logging in. And you get a cool little special quest that when you play a game with a friend on your friends list, you can earn 100 gold, and you can do it 5 times. And you can do that you could do that all at once or spread it out over those couple days, but you can kind of just do it at your own leisure. This is a lot of rewards. 100 million players is a lot of people.
Yeah. Well, in terms of scale, it's great, but if we go by the logic that they're looking to really optimize the new player retention rate and bringing people in, they're doing a great job because this is free, and they just gave us free stuff 3 days ago during BlizzCon. Right? We got a free Golden Starliner and free Boomsday pack, and then it's like, hey, you like free stuff? It's been 4 days, have some more! And you look at the pre-order bundle pricing, instead of $50 and $80 US, it's $20 for packs in the card back, and then $50 for 50 packs. They're really pushing accessibility. That seems to be the way to go, and I think it's a great direction for what they're trying to do. If their mission is to be accessible, they're doing a good job.
Yep, I totally agree. Last couple things here. There was a video put out on the Hearthstone main site called Rastakhan's Rumble Ticket to Greatness. It was a little animated short. Who's the animator that's been doing a lot of these lately?
Raunchy animation.
Yeah, and this one was just as good as the last one. It was kind of hilarious, and it also got to preview a new card called Time Out.
Oh, yes.
And I wish you could all see the look on Appa's face right now, but it is. I'll let you know for those of you who haven't seen it. It is a three mana paladin common spell that says your hero is immune until your next turn. And we all know how much Appa loves the ice block type variants. So
Appa, hold the anger. Decksplanations. We were talking before the show about what Decksplanations is going to be. It's like, we can just talk about timeout for 30 minutes, right? And that's enough. Because we'll talk about that card extensively. There's a lot to unpack here.
Yeah, that'll be...
Appa's currently self-destructing.
I'm excited to see that. But did either of you get to see this animated short yet?
So, unfortunately, I did not watch it because I heard a new card got spoiled. So I clicked on the link and just scrolled through at the bottom real quick until I saw it, and then I was like, "Oh no," because I saw the card.
And then you got distracted from
Yeah,
the...
so I need to actually go back and like watch the short because all of Raunchy Animation's shorts have been awesome. So I'm sure this one is great too, but I'm not going to talk about this card at all because that's Decksplanations reserved time. So it's gonna take a minute.
I really recommend going and watching the short because it was funny. At least I enjoyed it a lot. The last news item here is a interview that happened with Peter Whalen and Liv Breeden from the Hearthstone team, where they talk a lot about Rastakhan's Rumble and just kind of the new. I had a bunch of interesting questions in there. Some of the major points is talking about how they got to Zuul as the hero card for this set. Basically, it was just really high on the priority list of different characters that could have gotten a hero card. So that will be a hunter hero card. It'll be interesting to see. What that card does. And then also just kind of a cool thing, they were talking about balancing a little bit and how Shrivala, the 25 mana paladin Loa, used to cost 30 mana, but then they realized that after somebody got Holy Wrathed with it for 30, that they had to reduce the cost down to 25 and make it a little more reasonable. So I thought that was pretty interesting because I think somebody told me that it didn't work like that anymore with Holy Wrath, but I assumed that if they changed it, that it still functions like that.
Well, we don't know a lot about the functionality, right? Because we've been told that we can recruit this. If you can recruit this, that means the cost in deck must be low enough for Call to Arms to pull it. And if Call to Arms can pull
maybe this was just an early stage in development. Who knows? Like cards go through a bunch of different iterations of like how they function within the client. So
yeah,
I don't know. We'll have to
I guess
get more confirmation on that.
We'll find it out. But we did get confirmation about Hex Lord, the mage legendary, that it used to copy the coin if you started with the coin in your opening hand, and that was a little too good. And it also, if you started with him in your opening hand, then you could just play him and get another copy of him and keep playing him over and over every turn for the whole game. And that was a little busted.
Yeah, that's one card infinite combos. Not great for the game, usually. Not typically.
Yes.
And it's
especially
interesting
if you get to copy another really powerful card in your opener.
And it's interesting that Liv Breeden, we've seen she was running the Hearthstone panel at BlizzCon with Peter Whalen, and we've started to see more names pop up. If you look at the press kit on Blizzard's website for the release of Rastakhan's Rumble, you can see everybody's job titles. So Mike Danaeus is the lead designer. Ben Thompson's the creative director. Tim Erskine is the senior producer. Chris Sigaty, or Sigaty, Sigaty, is the executive producer. He's kind of the business lead on Hearthstone right now. There is no game director still, but Liv Breeden is one of the people that, as a designer, I think associate designer, she's now on the team, and they've moved a bunch of people around. But the higher ups, you can still kind of see their names in the bios on the website. And we don't have a game director; we do have a creative director. That's Ben Thompson. So curious to see how the structure of Hearthstone's team evolves going forward.
I think he's just the creative director. Wait, no. Who's it? All right. I was gonna try and meme, and then I confused myself. So screw it. No memes.
Okay.
Meme
Well.
lost. It was gonna be a joke about Mike Danae being a good version of something. That's the direction I was going.
I appreciate
Lost it.
your efforts. We're gonna do tournaments now.
I was going to say, let's go in the direction
Yeah.
of tournaments.
And I'm excited that I will, at some point, have a new bumper for tournaments when Rastakhan's Rumble comes out.
It's the grand tournament.
And also, I'm excited for new stuff to happen. We do have some stuff going on, but this week, we really just have Hearthstone Global Games, the finals. The Hearthstone Collegiate Champs are going on right now. They're still in the Swiss rounds, in the group stages. There's so many teams playing that we can't really give you an informed recap now, but we've got a week and a half more of that. Those are the Hearthstone Collegiate Champs matches are playing during the weekdays. So you'll be able to check that out on Twitch if you don't have anything else to watch on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. There's a lot going on, and I would definitely recommend checking it out. And that's going to be kind of the last major tournament circuit of this rotation before Rastakhan's Rumble comes out in a month. We'll have a couple more tournaments. But HGG is the big one this weekend. The finals were at Blizzcon. China takes it 3-0 in the finals over Brazil after they 3-0'd Norway in the semis. Brazil swept New Zealand to make their way to the finals, and both of those teams were 2-0 in their groups. So, major success from these teams. Bulgaria and Hong Kong both lost in the lower bracket in the decider matches. And Spain and Singapore both went 0-2 and were out. And there are a lot of cool games. Now, the tournament meta, if you don't remember the Hearthstone Global Games format, you bring 9 decks, 1 for each class, each team. You secretly pick and ban classes, so you can pick a class of your own to guaranteed play, and then ban classes of your opponents. And this kind of goes on a secret behind the scenes, and then you order your deck secretly as well. So each team ends up with 5 decks and a random order basically between both teams. So it's very hard to predict the meta. All teams bring all 9 classes. The ordering is almost completely random. It's pretty hard to follow. And we can't really give you a strategy update here. We can tell you the 9 decks that China brought. Mali Druid, Cube Hunter, Quest Elemental Mage. Yes, we'll come back to that. Odd Paladin, Combo Dragon, Control Priest, Odd Rogue, Shutterwalk Zoo, and Odd Warrior. Now, before we get into our games to watch, the one with that Quest Elemental Mage, because that is coming, first I want to talk to you about Norway versus Bulgaria Game 4. This is NTR versus Silent Storm. NTR for Norway, Bulgaria, Silent Storm is representing. And Norway is playing Odd Warrior, and Silent Storm and Bulgaria is playing Quest Rogue. Unwinnable matchup, right? Nope, it's not unwinnable, because Odd Warrior goes in with that aggressive turn 1 Eternium Rover, messy, and turn 2 coin out Stonehill. This is like the start that beat Appa last week. So
This is the aggro draw.
the aggro draw. The beats are coming. And that Stonehill
One drop
defender
into 3-mana 1/4s are unbeatable.
and that Stonehill
I can
defender
just-
gets a
I can
gem-studded
just
golem.
feel Rabobson just cringing, hearing Eternium Stonehill.
You need the rover, man. Gotta clean up. And so the Stonehill gets a gem-studded golem. That's the 6-mana 5/9 that if you don't have 5 armor, it can't attack. Silent Storm, the Quest Rogue, doesn't really have to hurry. Deckhand and then Brewmaster it. It gets shield slammed. And Norway's plan is keep the board clear and apply the worst tempo squad ever. This is a worse squad than the lift drivers in California this past weekend. So Bulgaria has to get aggressive. It has to prep nothing into Trigger Minstrel into Shadow Step it just to draw some cards. Norway is like tempo mind control tech. 3-mana 3/3, let's go. And then, of course, Bulgaria, Glacial Shard, and then Minstrel again. Get 2 more deckhands, and another Shard, and another Panda in hand. But Super Collider clears the board. Keep the board clean. Bulgaria now has 2 Vanishes in their hand. 2 deckhands, a Panda, and a Glacial Shard. Deckhand Panda again. Norway's like 6-mana 5/9. Is this enough pressure? I think this is enough pressure. Questro's like, no, deckhand and then Vanish. Odd Warrior redevelops Golem in their 1-mana 1/3. Turn him Rover. The Golem is actually enormous, because the Rogue has to go deckhand, trigger my quest, Everything attacks near 5/9. Lose both my deckhands. Lose my dagger. Take 5. Glacial Shard, you're 1/3. NTR's like, Dynomatic. Kill your 4/4. Stonehill Defender, I'm going to get Cornered Sentry. Now, Cornered Sentry, that gives 3 1/1s, which become 3 4/4s for the Quest Rogue. Remember this. Remember that NTR chose 2 mana 2/6, give my opponent 3 4/4s. Bulgaria goes single Wax Elemental. It gets silenced because Bulgaria Mimic Pods and the Fan of Knives, that doesn't do much except draw cards. Ziliacs get magnetized. Get in there. Go face. Dynomatic's a big boy. It's a 6/6. Go face. Quest Rogue's down to 5 life. Now, Quest Rogue goes Mimic Pod. I get double Scale Hide. Vanish, replay Wax Elemental. Dynomatic comes down, clears it again. Stonehill Defender to get a 0/2 Wax Elemental instead of a 4/4, and Eternium Rover. Bulgaria cycles. Fan, the other fan, Valera's in hand. And Valera should be good enough in this matchup, even being at 5 life. So, Silent Storm says, double Scale Hide. Hit in, I'm at 13. Along with the dagger. Board seems stable. But then, remember that 2 mana 2/6? Cornered Sentry, give you 3 4/4s. Mind Control Tech, take one of them. Mind Control Tech again, take one of your 2 Scale Hides. Bump an Eternium Rover to go to 4 armor, because he was at 2. Shield Slam one of the Scale Hides. Super Collider, the other 2 minions. Clear your board, even though I just gave you 3 4/4s, and took 2 of them. Both vanishes are gone. The warrior has 6 minions. Silent Storm plays Valera. NTR faces his own 2/6 Cornered Sentry. Full board. Silent Storm goes Waxy, Zola, Waxy. Nudge in with 1 minion. Super Collider to clear 2 Wax Elementals. Owl the last Wax Elemental. Face for 18. Game Odd Warrior. What?
I need to go back and watch this.
Yes, you do.
Count just how much damage this Eternium Rover did. Because it sounds like this was the real MVP of this one.
And not
Mind
only
Control
the
Tech really
damage.
was, because that one's messed up. But Rover, my boy.
Well, and it's not only the damage. If it wasn't for the Rover attacking in for free to get exactly 2 armor, to go up to exactly 4 armor, to exactly Shield Slam the Scale Hide, would have lost the game. So I'm just saying.
Rover.
Need the Rover. And that's not the most crazy game we're going to talk about, by the way. Because NTR played a different crazy game against China in the semis. He was playing Even Warlock, and China was playing Quest Elemental Mage. Of course! Why wouldn't he be playing Quest Elemental Mage? Now it's Quest Mage, but with the Spellstones and Arcane Artificers and Fireflies. And this is to upgrade the quest. Or the Spellstone, obviously. Because that is 2 mana spell, get a random spell. If you play 2 elementals, you get 2 random spells. If you play 2 more elementals, you get 3 random spells. Now the deck doesn't have Polymorph, doesn't have Voodoo Doll, because it has to make room for the Fireflies and the Spellstones, obviously. So there's not really a good answer to a fast Mountain Giant, except for Frost Nova Doomsayer. Now, turn 1 quest, turn 1 tap, turn 2 glyph actually gets the little known answer, 1 mana explosive runes. Right? So the giant, which comes down on turn 3, takes 6 from explosive runes, and 2 more from the Fireflies that got developed at the same time. Trying to get some breathing room here, because they very specifically, you could see the plan with how quickly they executed. Play explosive runes, play double Firefly, wait for the giant to take 6, and then hit in for 2, so they can play Arcane Intellect. It worked out exactly how they drew it up. Now, Norway's developing reasonable minions. There's a Homunculus, there's a Beetle, next turn is Coined Red Infernal, and all China's doing is drawing cards. In turn 6, he actually goes Artificer, Glyph. And normally you save the Artificers for bigger spells, but Leo just kind of goes in, and they upgrade a couple Spellstones, gets a Spellbender, and a Simulacrum. Now the 1/2s get cleared, there's still a 6/6, a 2/3, a 2/4, and then a Skulking Geist comes down. It's a pretty big board. It's a total of 14 attack. Now, one of the random cards given from the Spellstone was a Flame Strike. Flame Strike gets played, but it only kills the Homunculus and the Plated Beetle. It leaves up a 4/2 and a 6/2. And that's 10 damage. Tax in, And the Even Warlock NTR can play Shroom Brewer and Protector and just redevelop the board. And that's now 16 damage. So you know what we need to do? We need to go rolling. There's one Ruby Spellstone left in hand. Double Firefly to upgrade it. Frost Nova. Ruby Spellstone. I get Primordial Glyph and Astral Rift. Astral Rift is the 2-mana spell. Get 2 random minions. And you all know Primordial Glyph. So NTR the next turn. His minions are frozen. Bone Mare, the Shroom Brewer. It's an 8/8. And China says, you know what? It's turn 8. We're going in. Sorcerer's Apprentice, Molten Reflection, Research Project for free, Spellbender for free, Time Warp, Flame Geyser 4/2 taunt, Flame Elemental, Astral Rift to get Tar Creeper, and Hooked Reaver. Take my next turn. Next turn, Shimmering Tempest. It's the 2/1 Elemental that when it dies, you get a random mage spell, which upgrades Spellstone. Play it. Get another Frost Nova and a Shooting Star. Shooting Star, my 2/1/2s, and my Shimmering Tempest to get Snap Freeze. Frost Nova, Snap Freeze, the only remaining taunt, the 8/8 taunt, attack face with 3 Sorcerer's Apprentices and 2 1/1s for 11. Frostbolt myself to 14 so I can play Hooked Reaver as a 7/7 and Molten Reflection it. Did you all follow that? Because I sure didn't. And now we have a Quest Mage that just took 2 turns and has 3 3/2s, Sorcerer Apprentices, 2 1/1s, and 2 7/7 taunts, after Snap Freezing away an 8/8 taunt. Now NTR, Spellstones. Remember there's a Spellbender up. Spellbender does not trigger because the board is full. So NTR Spellstones away a Hooked Reaver, gain 7. Hellfire's away, 5 minions, passes the turn. Hooked Reaver gets in for 7 to the face, brings Norway down to 9, and then China plays Alaneth and the random Tar Creeper. Now Norway, their hand has double Spellbreaker in it. They haven't checked for Ice Barrier yet, but they haven't checked for Spellbender either because the board was full. They've checked for everything else. So Norway Spellstones a minion instead of playing double Spellbreaker. The Spellbender triggers and takes the Spellstone. And now they have a 5/2 and a 6/3. Their opponent's at 11. And if they want to attack in to the Hooked Reaver, they can. But they didn't pop the secret. So Spellstone comes down, hits the 1/3. Ooze pops the Alaneth. Hooked Reaver comes down, they're at 14. And they actually miss lethal here. They didn't know they did, but they did. Because it was Ice Barrier, they lose to that play. And then the Quest Mage plays Luna. Because yes, this is Luna Quest Mage. Apprentice. Frostbolt you, draw a card. Doomsayer you, draw a card. By the way, Frost Nova, draw a card. Next to last card in the deck. Norway's at 11. They have 3 frozen minions against Doomsayer. China has Luna, Apprentice, Tar Creeper, Doomsayer. Frost Nova's come down. 11 life. And no cards in deck. And Antonidas, Fireball, Flame Geyser, and second Doomsayer. By the way, that Fireball, Norway doesn't know about it because it was random. It was a randomly generated Fireball. So Norway lets Doomsayer go off. It's not clear if they let it go off or if they roped out. But either way, the Doomsayer goes off and clears the Even Warlock board. China's on no cards in deck. But they go, Antonidas, Flame Geyser, play the 1/2. That's 2 Fireballs in hand. Norway knows about one of them, and Norway's at 11. Empty board against Antonidas, both Spellstones gone. Gul'dan is still lethal. Shroom Brewer is still lethal. And so Norway, they silence the Antonidas. They taunt up, and they promptly die to 2 Fireballs. Gee whiz. Quest Mage taking game 1 of the semis. I would strongly recommend watching both these games. They were both awesome. This game,
that's kind of crazy. This I actually saw this was on this game
Trollden.
was partially on Trollden. Yeah.
Yes. Because of course, when you Shooting Star your own Shimmering Tempest to get a Snap Freeze, and that ends up being really relevant, that should go on Trollden. So
also, when you Frostbolt yourself in the face to make your Hooked Reaver a 7/7 so you can copy it.
Yeah.
It's not a play you do every day.
I haven't seen that one before. That's not usually in the playbook. So I would recommend watching both of these. The Odd Warrior game is definitely more of a demonstration of really clear game planning. And the Quest Mage one, there's also game planning there, but there's a good amount of RNG involved. Both are fun for different reasons. Now, coming soon, week 6 of the regular season of TESPA, like we talked about. Next week will be the last week of the Swiss, and then we'll cut to the groups. We'll talk about those. WESG, the USA Finals, are going to be this upcoming weekend. That's going to be the big tournament to talk about. The winners qualify for the Grand Finals in Shanghai in March. The semis are on Saturday. They're going to feature the following matches. At 5:30 Eastern and 11:30 Central European Time, Ophélie versus Ali Straza in the women's bracket. And then at 7 p.m. Eastern, 1 a.m. Sunday Central European is Edelweiss versus Justine. Edelweiss, friend of the show. And then for the open bracket, at 8:30 p.m. Eastern, 2:30 a.m. Sunday Central Eastern, Just Sayin versus Gallon. And then at 10 o'clock that night, or 4 a.m. Sunday Central European that morning, is Astrogation versus Swaggy G. I didn't know Astrogation still played, but these are some really high-quality matches. And we've got a lot of friends in the WestG casters. Bemmy is running the show, and friends of the show, Cinder Ascent, you know him, Wicked Good, Swaggo Tomlock, Brasky, a lot of good people that are going to be part of the casting squad. So check them out. We'll be talking about them. And that is our tournament section for now. And I hope you're all ready for some Decksplanations.
So I did not write Decksplanations this week because I've been busy with schoolwork. So Hat, do you want to just man the helm on this one?
I can, but this is a round table, so prepare yourself with opinions.
Okay.
So-
I have them. They're various and strong.
Yes. Like the coffee you've drank today.
Yes, very, very strong.
Yes, and various. So, we talked about the new set in the BlizzCon episode. By the way, the best part of that episode was the title. Props to myself for coming up with it. And we've had time to process it because as much fun as it is to talk in the same room as each other, it also was during a very frenetic time in a very brief moment. We want to make sure we take the time to digest and discuss what we really feel about the new set. So first of all, we want to talk about power level and the mechanics we've seen so far. We obviously have a very limited view. But this time last year, we got to see a set called Kobolds and Catacombs, and that limited view was kind of enough to let us know what was going on in that set. Same with the set before, Knights of the Frozen Throne. Witchwood, it was harder for us to get a read on. We did see Gen early on, but we didn't know how relevant that would be. And Boomsday, we did see a couple of cards early on. I forget what the first scientist we saw. I think, was it Stargazer Luna? Might have been Luna.
I was going to say Luna. I think that's right.
So, what we have now, we have some keywords and we have some themes. And we want to talk about the power level mechanics we've seen so far. So we've got Overkill, the Spirits, the Loa, and anything else that stands out to you all. And Bodicus, why don't you get started? What do you think about the power level we're seeing?
Yeah, I mean, power level definitely seems like where we kind of want it. The meme we always keep going back to is Hat saying, why did they print Tinker, the mechanic for Recruit last year? Because that seemed like a mistake. And Overkill just seems like a solid kind of digital version of Kicker. Like, Hearthstone doesn't do Kicker very well, and for those of you who don't know what I'm saying when I talk about Kicker is a magic keyword that basically there is a base effect that a card does, and then you can pay the Kicker essentially to have it do an extra thing. So this is kind of a different version of this. You're not paying extra, you're just doing something a little bit differently with the card to get an extra effect
like
from
when
it.
a specific criteria is met, do an extra thing.
Yeah, so I
basically.
feel like the gameplay with this could be somewhat interesting. Just how you manage the health of your minions or your opponent's minions to be able to make use of your overkill cards seems like it could be interesting. But yeah, overall, just the set seems like a decrease in power level, which usually leads to more availability for decision makings in games when when the cards are more interesting and more what's a good word? Yeah, just like kind of lower power level when you're not as worried about just playing a card and having it be so powerful it can win the game on its own.
Yeah, I mean, power level formats that are skewed are typically all formats are defined by their power level outliers, right? Whichever card is the highest on the power level. And if you have fewer outliers, or rather, what constitutes an outlier is lower, then you see more of them. If the most powerful card in your format is Innervate, you're going to have a very different format than if the most powerful card is Baku. If your most powerful card is Baku, you run into different issues with too much consistency and predictability. But when the most powerful card is the hero power, that means around the shell of the hero power, you can play almost anything you want. Or if the most powerful card is, what's a healthy format that we've had? Thinking. Primordial Glyph. Most powerful card is Primordial Glyph, right? Mage is going to be good, but there's a lot of different ways to combat that. For example. What do you think, Appa?
I think that the overall power level of what we've seen so far is fairly low compared to what we've had from the Year of the Mammoth, which is good. And I think that the direction that it looks like they're going in is going to make next year's format very fun to play in. I think whenever the power level of an overall format is low, I think that leads to, like Bodikus was saying, more decisions, and that'll lead to the feeling of more agency in game, which I think is really important because there are a lot of games right now that you just queue up into ladder or into on ladder, and you either feel like you have no chance because of just the matchup that you queue into, or things happen that you have just no control over because they're too powerful and they happen like too soon in the game, like wild growth into nourish. Like when that happens, you're just like, okay, GG, I guess. I lose like wild growth nourish, like coin UI. It's like, all right, I'm just
Yeah,
not beating this ever.
it's really like wild growth nourish into very powerful effect,
Yeah.
because wild growth nourish into medium power level effect is still manageable. Like it's still very very good. It's very like that is a powerful sequence, but it's not game breakingly. I can't ever come back from that kind of power level. So like when the average power level of everything across all the sets is more similar, then it allows you more deck building choices. Like you can include different things in the decks because you might include something that's slightly lower power level but works with your deck differently, and kind of gives you I think it'll give us a better overall play experience.
Yeah, and
Ideally.
it's not just Druid doing this either. Like you have a bunch of different decks just running Keleseth because the effect's just too powerful pretty much to not run. People have decided. And I mean there's a bunch of games like you just queue into Hunter and they go Keleseth, Egg, Stalker, Play Dead, and you're like, okay, GG, didn't get to play this game because the power level of like all of these sorts of cards are so high that it removes a lot of decision making and counterplay early on in the game. So whenever power level is lower and early game cards are a little worse and payoffs are a little worse, then decisions feel like they matter more. And I think that makes for just a more enjoyable play experience where you feel like you have more not real control, but kind of the illusion of control of what goes on in the game. You feel like your decisions matter, and I think that's really important for a format to feel fun. Even if a format isn't particularly healthy, if if you feel like your decisions matter, I think that's more important overall for kind of just community morale in general. So I like the direction that it feels like the Witchwood Boomsday and what we've seen of Rastakhan's Rumble are going in terms of power level. So I'm very optimistic for this next year of kind of competitive play.
Yeah, Magic the Gathering personality and Eternal developer Patrick Sullivan has a pretty famous rant that talks about Ravage Chupacabra, a card that was printed in Magic the Gathering, and his philosophy and that he discusses about what makes a game fun is risk and investment create variability in game states, right? When you do something, you say, I don't know if this is going to work, but I'm going to try it, and I'm going to spend mana and be vulnerable and see what happens. When you make a format or a card game all about immediacy, all about this thing happens, and I don't care if you kill my creature because I already got what I wanted out of it, or I just played these spells that happen right away, and everything is, you can't interact with me unless you find a way to prevent what I want to do right now by doing your own thing. Less fun, less variability, more about two competing singular game plans as opposed to interactivity. But if you build a game where the best thing to do is invest into the board and wait a minute and hope the thing you're trying to do works out, which I think is what they're trying to do, then you build a more fun and variant gameplay experience with more involvement in development and time and resource commitment in plans that don't always work. And you look at the spirits. The spirits are all early game cards. They all cost 4 or less, but they're all about put this thing in the board to allow me to do more stuff on the board. That's cool, right? It's a cycle of cards that only work with other cards that go in the board that have stealth for one turn only and that try and buff up your interaction. It's all meant about that idea of create this game plan that works over time. And you look at Overkill. Overkill reminds me a lot of Rush. It's cool. It interacts with the board. It can never end the game on its own. And it's a mechanic built on minion combat. Look at the mechanics built on minion combat. That means the plan here is for this set to exist in an environment where minions are hitting other minions. That means it's going to be not a powerful combo set, not a powerful spell theme set. You look at the quests, you look at the Death Knights, you look at the weapons. These are all things that aren't meant to interact with minions. Overkill only works if you hit stuff with it. And you can't really have overkill in a player. So it's definitely meant to be a minion. Same thing with Rush. Rush only works if you hit something with it. And it literally cannot go face. So the direction they seem to be going in is all about developing this idea of board interactivity as the primary crux of the game. And I think that's really healthy and really smart. And also means that we won't see the fruits of that until rotation next year. Because last year did not have this philosophy.
Yeah, I kind of wanted to touch on that a little bit, where we're talking about the overall power level, at least from what we've seen, looking relatively low, and with Boomstand Witchwood being low power level as well. But if this is going to be another low power set, you should prepare yourselves and fully expect for this set not to make too much of an impact in standard. And if that happens, standard is going to still feel stale, because most likely things will not shake up the format if they're low power level when you're competing with Journey to Ngoro, Kobolds and Catacombs, and Knights of the Frozen Throne. So just kind of be expecting that if this does turn out to be another low power set. It's going to be good for the long term health of the game, most likely, but in the short term, it will probably feel very samey to what we've had. Again, we've only seen just a handful of cards, but in the direction that we think they're going with, in terms of design philosophy, that's most likely going to be the short-term kind of impact that we see.
Yes. Okay. So, theming. We talked about the power level. We talked about the mechanics. First of all, let's talk to Bottadamus over there, who can see the future. Botticus, what do you think about the theming here?
Oh, I love it. I mean, it's kind of weird actually the way that the theming is, because it says it's Stranglethorn Bell. Jeez, I can't talk tonight. Stranglethorn Vale, and it's the Gurubashi Arena. But we're seeing a lot of things from the most recent World of Warcraft expansion, Battle for Azeroth, tied into it. But somehow I lucked out and I looked up where King Mukla was from, and on the Realm Maintenance podcast, he asked us what we wanted or what we thought the new set would be, and I said Stranglethorn Veil, and here we are. So I am just praying and hoping every night that we get a new King Mukla that has something to do with bananas, because I would just be so happy. It would have to be a 9 mana 5/5 that filled your hand with bananas. Yeah. Because it was 3 and 6 and then 9. Yeah. 9 mana 5. Okay, either way. Yeah, I'm super excited about it. We have a little note in here that's talking about Warlock specifically hand buffing, because a couple of the cards seem to be related with hand buffing, and we just got that Soul Infusion card, which is also hand buffing. And when I think about it, it actually kind of makes sense to me, because Warlock is the hero power is about drawing cards, and so having a lot of cards in hand to be able to buff just makes a lot of sense to me. So yeah, the theme seems really awesome. It seems like they're trying to capitalize a lot on the popularity of Battle for Azeroth. Although this had to be in the works way before it was released, so they wouldn't have known how popular it was going to be. But yeah, just pretty interesting. And please, King Mukla versus Druid all day.
Yeah, we have a question in the show notes that Hat wrote. It says, "What is Warlock's class mechanic?" And this has kind of been an issue with Warlock for a while, is that their identity is not very clear. It feels like it changes pretty much from set to set. And honestly, I would argue that their class mechanic is life tap, because it doesn't matter what they get. Their hero power is so strong that they will make use out of it somehow. So, I mean,
Yeah.
whatever they're given, 2 mana draw a card is going to be real good.
The hero power, and this is something that Black deals with in Magic too. There's a kind of a meme on a message board that I used to post on about how you talk about which color would do which thing and how they do it. And the meme was always, well, Black will just pay life for it because Black will do anything to win. And Warlock is kind of like that, right? You take your regular card and you either take away an extra small benefit, or you add a cost of life or discarding a card, and then it's a Warlock card, because they're
sacrificing a creature.
Yeah, it's you take a card that would be low powered in any other class, and it's actually reasonable power level in Warlock because they just get more cards in their hand every game. And that's kind of the mechanic, because you look back at what did they do in Boomsday? What was the legendary spell? I don't even remember. Oh, Solarium. Yeah. Draw 3 cards. Okay, Solarium was busted, but
draw more cards.
Yeah, draw more cards, and then when this dies,
at the cost of
swap
having
it.
to use them right away.
Yeah, and then you look at Witchwood and Witchwood. I don't really know what the Witchwood Warlock cards did. There was the Echo Legendary, and there was I don't even remember. But it seems like their class mechanics just change all the time as to what they're trying to do, and they try and just get the weird stuff that's a little bit underpowered.
Witchwood was self-damaging. That was like the thing.
Oh,
It
with
had,
the
like,
Blood Witch.
bat and
Yeah, the Blood Witch and the
Blood
Dusk Bat,
Witch.
and that lasted for exactly that one set.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, Druid's over there like, we do choose one. Sometimes we choose when we get taunts. Sometimes we choose when we get armor. Sometimes we choose when we get cards. We're a Druid. We do those things in mana ramp. What you got? And Warlock's over there like, I don't know, but I'm paying life for it.
Yeah, sometimes you don't do any of that. You just pay a bunch of mana and do all of the things.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's interesting that different classes have different clear class identities. Warlock cards all feel very Warlocky, but in terms of what they actually do and what the Warlock decks look like, they're all predicated on life tap. Zoo is based on cheap minions, and then you have the mana left over to draw more cheap minions, or control decks that rely on your life total getting low because you have the button that lets you do that. And that's really it. Outside of Q-Block, which was just because Recruit was busted. Yeah, interesting. And as far as the theming goes as well, I think it's fascinating that there is such a clear tie-in with the most recent World of Warcraft expansion. For those that don't know, Battle for Azeroth, the Horde island of Zandalar is the home of the Zandalari trolls. It is the homeland of King Rastakhan. His daughter, Princess Talanji, is the champion of the priest class. Buon Samdi is the Loa of death in that world, and that is the Loa of priest. Loa as a concept were explored more heavily in this expansion. There's a ton of overlap here. Clearly intentional. And that's really interesting, because you don't get this timing by accident. This was planned. When BFA was going to come out, this was planned. And so there's been a lot of discussion, and I think even on the show, that we haven't been sure of the long-term business model of Hearthstone. But we can say for sure, someone a year ago said, when BFA comes out, your set should tie in. And Hearthstone did it. Team 5 did it. And they got a really interestingly executed set that looks fun. I think the art looks really great. And they tied it in very, very closely with what we're doing in another Blizzard game. And this is the first time they've done that. So I'm pretty stoked about that. Bott, I'm wondering what you think about it, because I know you play a good amount of WoW. And then Appa, I'm wondering what you think about it, because you don't.
Yeah, I like it a lot. I mean, it's kind of, I'm obviously putting a lot of my time into WoW right now, and just having this set come out that references all of the WoW things, just tying it all together, just kind of feels neat to me. It makes it seem like they're on the ball, and I think it's, on one hand, I think it's fairly lucky of them that BFA was so popular, but I think basically any WoW expansion was going to be super popular. So yeah, I'm kind of happy that this is the direction they ended up taking with this set. I'm excited to see all of the rest of the cards that come out in it.
What about you, Appa?
Since I do not play a lot of WoW, all of this is new to me for the first time, and all of it looks cool, and it does exactly what they want it to do, and that is make me want to play WoW and explore it more. So, good job, Blizzard. You did it. You did the thing,
Yes.
and you did it well.
Be careful exploring. There's burst damage in these woods. Yes. So, without any more monkey business, it's time to talk about cards. We are not going to go card by card. We went card by card on the Blizzcon podcast, which you should check out. We went pretty quick. I listed a few cards in the show notes here that I think are worth discussing, and if any of my other hosts have specific things they want to mention, then we will overview and discuss. And timeout's the last card. Don't worry. We have time set aside. First, I want to talk about Shirvala. Because of the rules interactions. We talked about this a little bit earlier. Botticus, you had heard that you can recruit this card out with Call to Arms, correct? Is that you, or was that Appa?
I thought I was told by one of you two.
I also thought I was told by one of you two.
Okay,
So
I'm searching this.
I don't know. Maybe we were told by somebody else who's trying to sabotage us right now. Because I still feel like it would work with Holy Wrath, especially based on the interview that was given. It just seems like that's like an intended thing.
So, and here I thought that I had been told that you could recruit this out, but maybe I misunderstood that or misheard that from somewhere else. But I thought they talked about that in the panel. You're right that cost reduction mechanics generally don't work in the deck, but I don't know with this one. So we'll have to see. If you can recruit it, first of all, that's awesome, and second of all, that means you can't Holy Wrath with it, because it wouldn't work for one and not the other. It wouldn't be 1 mana for one spell and 25 for the other. But second, if it doesn't work with Recruit, that means it's time for Baleful Bank or Holy Wrath. And maybe we get a Hemet Jungle Hunter in there. Maybe we hunt the jungle.
You can't play Hemet because you need your timeouts.
You get them in hand, and then you Hemet. I don't know. We'll figure it out. We're very early in the brewing stage. I wrote down Baited Arrow here because, again, the card's really good. And we talked about it with a few people that were just really questioning how 5 mana for 3 damage to the face was worth it. Okay, it's not, but the card has other text. That's not the intended purpose. You're not playing this to go face.
5 mana, 3 damage to the face is the alternate mode of this card.
Correct. But we had a couple people that we talked to. They were like, "Well, that's not a very good rate." You're right. but it is a good rate to kill something and get a 5/5. And ever
Have
so
you
often, you
ever
just don't know.
played a fire elemental and killed a 2/2?
Yes.
A lot.
That's what this is going
Happens
to do.
a lot.
A lot. And a significant portion of the time, it's going to go, nice Sea Giant, Hunter's Mark, make a 5/5, kill that.
Yeah.
This
Well,
card looks good.
I haven't seen a lot of
Plus,
Sea Giants, but yes.
Whatever. I just picked the biggest minion I could think of, and I play even Shaman, so Sea Giant. But the Hunter also has stuff on the board all the time in the early game. And this isn't just 5 mana, 3 damage. Hope they have a 2 toughness, 2 health or less minion. You get to dictate what happens with your stuff on the board. So you get to trade in something less valuable or not very impactful in the mid game, and then combo that with Baited Arrow to make a 5/5 and have a huge tempo swing in the mid game. So just don't forget that you get to like attack things with minions, because it's very easy to think about this just in a vacuum and be like, well, what does this kill just on its own? Because sometimes you'll have to kill things like on its own to be able to get this effect, but most of the time you're going to have stuff on board and you're going to be able to trade in first and kill something, and in the instances where you don't, then you'll just rely on Hunter's Mark and just have a 2-card combo, remove their biggest thing, make a 5/5. This card just seems very good.
Yeah, just imagine playing this against playing as a paladin or a shaman against a hunter with this card existing. You just can't ever use your hero power after a certain time.
It's that feeling of being a paladin against a Frostlich Janna. You're just like, I have to, but I don't wanna. I don't want to hit the hero power, but I need to do the thing that my deck does. And then as the hunter, you just get to punish them for making a dude. So yeah, I like this card a lot. I think it looks strong.
Yeah, it's overkill is interesting, right? Because it rewards when you soften up the board. And historically, there haven't been a lot of rewards for softening up the board, right? For hitting minions for part of their health, but not all of it. Usually don't Hellfire if you can't clear things. Usually don't Flame Strike, you can't kill things. But there's a lot of reward in this meta, or a lot of rewards with this new set about getting rid of some of the health of the minions, but not all of it. And that's new gameplay. Because you aren't typically rewarded for bumping minions a little bit. Maybe Defile, kind of, but that's usually in the same turn. So, I don't know. I'm really curious to see where Overkill goes, because I think it will encourage a different kind of gameplay in terms of how to interact with the board and each other's minions and all that stuff. Appa's puppy is extremely distracting, and I think probably peed on the carpet.
Yeah, I peed on the carpet.
Yeah, well, you didn't see it, but while you were talking, the dogs came into the room and then tried to leave, and then Aya didn't successfully do so. So I may have DM'd Taylor on Twitter and been like, the puppy's stuck.
Oh.
And now the puppy is free and also peed.
I'm a bad dog dad.
No, it's you were busy.
Did not notice.
That's you were looking the wrong direction. We can see it on the camera right there. Bodicus and I both made the same kind of half frowny face, but you were doing your podcast thing. It's okay. Only the patrons will know. This is between you, me, and them. But the puppy's fine, and the floor is moistened.
The floor has been seasoned.
Yeah. But watch out where you step, because if you're not careful, you're in for a surprise. That's a urine. It's a joke.
Yeah,
it's a pee joke.
Yeah, we heard it.
Yeah.
We heard it. Let's talk about Shark Fin Fan. I know you didn't put this in the list. I just like this card. I don't know why. It just seems like a cool card.
I know exactly why.
Because you like Ship's Cannon?
I mean,
yes.
Well, I don't play Wild, and I don't really plan to play Wild, but I just think this is kind of, I don't know why, it just stood out to me as a solid card that's not going to break anything, but seems just like a cool card that you might play in some decks, and hopefully it has some bonuses you could play in Standard. Like I could see this going into a rogue deck and being pretty reasonable.
Yeah, it's
You get to go simultaneously big with Hench Clan Thug and wide with Sharkman Fan.
yes.
Yeah.
Deal with both of these.
But this card is not a fan of knives, so you want to be careful. But yeah, I'm curious about the fan cycle as well. They said there was going to be a few cards based on your hero's actions. Now, I imagine not all of them will be when your hero attacks. We might get one that's when you use your hero power. It might be one when you draw a card or something, because not every class attacks with their hero. But there will probably be some way for all classes to connect with their fans. And I had actually written down...
Oh,
What?
My God.
What?
It just doesn't stop. This
No.
pun train just keeps on rolling.
Why would it stop?
Have you ever known Hat to stop with the
Yeah.
puns? Just bringing it up makes him want to make more puns.
Well, I only want to make more when you tell me to stop or don't, so...
One card I wanted to talk about was Spirit of the Shark, because I thought it worked on spells as well, but it does not. It's only
No.
minions. And I'm disappointed that I can't just like cold-blood Abyss people for a lot.
Nope, you can still Fungalmancer people.
Yeah,
You can still SI for 4. You can still play the Cold Blood Minion. I forget the name of it, but the 5 mana 4/4 combo plus 4 attack. You can still play that. That's
think
plus
it's
8
like
attack.
something chemist or something like that.
Yes. It's
Kooky Chemist.
no, not that.
Oh, is that a different card?
That's a attack health swap.
Oh.
4 mana 4/4. No, this is a 5 mana 4/4 combo plus 4 attack.
Crazy chemist.
Yeah, that one.
Crazy Chemist.
Yep.
Alright.
Yeah, I think like
yeah.
there's that, and Fungalmancer SI7 still a good option, but yes, I
Bummer.
agree that it's a bummer that you can't Cold Blood for 8 or Evis for 4, though it would have gotten a little weird because the language of the card says do 4 damage instead, and we don't know how doing 4 damage instead twice would work. If it's really 4, or if it's 6, or if it's 8. So they'd have to figure that out, and instead it's just minions only.
Vilespine Slayer really kills something.
Yes.
Like you thought it was going to kill it, and then it really killed it.
It's super dead. It's like how Bran with Big Game Hunter used to be. It did not choose the same minion twice. But still think this is cool. And it's a notably powerful effect because Bran Bronzebeard is really good, and this is Bran Bronzebeard that doesn't hit things but has stealth for a minute. So, and also it's worth noting all of the spirits are 0/3s with stealth for 1 turn. All of them are 4 mana or less, and all of them die to Mossy Horror. So it's Mossy Boy's time to shine.
Maybe. Mossy Boy costs 6, and these all cost 4 or less. So if you play it early,
Break
you're
out
going to
your
get
Stampede and Kodos.
Yeah. Oh.
Oh.
Mm.
And Hellfire is probably going to still see a lot of play
Yes.
if these are good.
Yes, the board removal card in a board-centric set will probably be good. I agree. Springpaw I wanted to bring up just because it's not quite Alley Cat and it's not quite Firefly, but you should expect to see this card seeing play. That's the Hunter 1 mana 1/1 with Rush that gives you another one in hand. That's a really good deal for 1 mana and 1 card.
I think it compares favorably to Firefly in a lot of situations.
Yep.
Especially just in the Hunter class.
Yeah, and especially in combination with a card like a 5 mana that deals 3 damage with Overkill, gives you a 5/5. It's probably pretty good for softening up a minion before you make a 5/5.
Yeah, just being able to kind of dictate what happens on the board as Hunter is really important. Like we see just how like ubiquitous Candle Shot is in like every
Yeah.
Hunter deck.
Yep.
Just because being able to deal 1 damage like on demand is so like necessary for the class to kind of keep up on board and like make advantages happen for it and stuff. So I'm excited for Springpaw. I really want to open golden ones because I want golden cats.
Yes.
Yeah.
I want it right now. So, Void Contract we want to talk about for a little bit here. This is a trap. Be aware. Do not make this card.
Yeah, what is there to say? This is an 8 mana card that does nothing.
Because
they-
deck destruction is the sort of thing that makes people shed logic in a lot of ways. and react strangely to cards. We wanted to make sure we doubled down on the show with how bizarre and unlikely to be relevant this effect is. Because in order
Yeah,
for it to be valuable, your deck has to be significantly lower than theirs, and you have to have a way to make up the fatigue difference. And you have to care about cards in deck as a larger resource than stuff on the board. And you have to have no other better way of doing this thing.
Yeah, if we thought Gnome Ferratu wasn't very good, then this is just an extreme version of that. It's one of those cards. They talked about it in the interview I read earlier in the news section. Just this is a card for a certain type of player that a lot of times these types of cards are called griefer cards. But they have to be costed appropriately, and I think this is the right cost for an effect like this. It's a big, powerful effect that is unlikely to matter in highly competitive games. It's just not something you're going to see in highly competitive games, most likely. We have to preface that because we all saw what happened with Rin, the first disciple. But yeah, this is just it just doesn't seem very good to me. So I hope that's right, because cards like this are kind of scary if they're ever good, I think.
Yeah, I mean, you'd have to think about an environment where this is good is one where you need an additional backup Rin. And that means that we're not playing on the board at all. It means that if you're ever playing this, you intend to tap below your opponent's card total, so you can even it up by destroying more cards with Void Contract, right? If they have 16 cards left and you have 10, you're killing 8 of theirs and 5 of yours. You're still behind, but not as behind. And you have to have some other way to make it up, whether that's Baleful Banker or something else, some other way to refill the difference. But it also means you're intending on there being a meta where 8 mana catch up on a resource that cannot, by definition, matter right now, is the right thing to do in the format. First of all, Shutterwalk's in the same year as this, so it's unlikely for that to be relevant, because you just play Shutterwalk if that's ever going to be the case. But second of all, it means that we've moved completely away from board-centric strategies if this card is seeing any kind of consistent play. Because against any aggressive deck, it's completely irrelevant. So
I was going to say, if everybody's playing Shutterwalk, that is the situation I think this card could be viable in, if everybody's Shutterwalk, because it's kind of a faster Rin. The problem with Rin a lot of the times is when you end up destroying their deck, they usually have 5 or less cards in it. So this could end up getting rid of important key cards to very specific combo decks a lot faster than spending... You have to spend 31 mana first? No, more than that, right? 25, 31, 40, 41 mana.
Yeah.
All right, look. Turn 2. Blood Bloom. Void Contract. Now we're down 8 life and down 2 cards.
I'm
We've lost half our decks.
I'm putting you in timeout.
Don't worry, we have we have life tap.
Yeah. Okay, so to talk about relevant cards. Timeout. 3 mana, Paladin spell, you are immune until next turn. Now, this card has developed a lot of...
But why, though?
There are a lot of different reactions to this card in the format. Some are Appas and some are not. So, there are many reactions to this card. Now, immune, you can't be targeted, you can't take damage. Obviously, there's no effect on your minions. It happens when you play the spell until your next draw step. So, if you compare to Ice Block, which you should, probably, also to Frost Nova, somewhere in between, the difference is, first of all, it does not have to happen when you're about to die, but you don't know if it's going to happen when you're about to die. So you can play it early to delay anything that's going to happen. Your life total stays high, unlike Ice Block, where if they pop it, you're at a low life total by definition. You can play this on 20 life on turn 5, and then next turn go Pyro, or Equality Consecration, right? You can do that. Or you can play it and your opponent just does nothing, and you don't have the answer the next turn either, and nothing happens. It's just a turn later. You can play this and attack with a weapon, and you don't take the damage. So you play this, and you have a True Silver down, or a Valenier, or whatever. You can hit whatever you want, you don't take the damage. You can't be targeted. There's nothing that can hit you in the face, burn, doesn't matter. But your minions stay the same. They can be dealt with as much as you want. So, what this means is, this card is really relevant if you are playing from the hand. It is not relevant if you are a board-centric deck, because you play this card, and your opponent just says, okay, I'll clear your board, and then you're probably screwed. If you are playing from the hand, either in an extreme aggressive or extreme control sense, you play this and you get an extra couple swings of a weapon, right? Swing that turn, swing the turn after that. You play this, you can play Hammer of Wrath, or Avenging Wrath, or Consecration, or Chillblade Champion, or other burn spells and charge minions and hit face. If you're a control deck, and you know that next turn you're going to go Equality Pyro, or Pyro Equality, if you go timeout this turn, your life total stays high. You don't take the damage from on the board. And if your opponent's playing a board-based deck, they still either have to develop or have to do nothing, and both are good for you. And then you clear the board anyways, and then you can go like a Lay on Hands next turn on an empty board into an Uther or something, for example. And the worst case scenario, the Doomsday scenario, and where this card becomes scary, is if you were a non-interactive combo deck, you just play this into a board clear or this into another one of these until your opponent dies out of nowhere where they couldn't do anything for a couple turns because you were immune. That could be in Wild, Anyfin Paladin, Exodia Paladin, decks that are not super competitive right now, but could be if they got 3 mana, wait a turn, and they just did. So, Appa, why don't you go first? Because I think that keeping this contained would just be bad for your health.
All right, I've been waiting a minute to talk about this one. So before I launch into it, I want to preface this by saying I'm not trying to cry wolf on this card being broken or too good or anything like that. My main issue with this card is that, one, in standard, even in Wild, there is literally no counterplay to this outside of Lotheb in Wild and Nerubian Unraveler in Standard. So, if Blizzard messes up and prints some weird combo or makes like cards too good that Paladin can like abuse this, then there's just nothing you can do because of the nature of the card. It's just a spell you play from hand, and you just can't really interact with it without proactively playing something that can be easily played around or easily dealt with from the opponent. So I've seen a few different people talking about this being kind of tricky to play, and I agree that this card will be tricky to play because you have to have a clear game plan and know what your opponent's doing and all this kinds of stuff, and you have to time it right. But this is not an argument against the card being good. Never, 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 ever, ever, I'll say it again, never, ever judge a card based on difficulty to play it. That's never going to be productive and is only going to make you judge a card to be worse than it is. If something's only good when it's played well or timed right, that card's good. If it's going to be good in the best player's hands, then it's going to end up being an issue whenever the general community comes around to it or figures out how to play with it. Like, think about Grim Patron, just the deck. The deck was really hard to play, but it was also super busted. And when people started figuring it out and paying attention to pros and learning how to play it, got to be a problem because it was really, really good. Like, I need to collect my thoughts real quick because I'm there's so many directions my brain's just branching off on. So the card, I don't think it's going to be a problem in standard, at least right now from what we know, because Paladin does not do anything degenerate really. It fights pretty fair right now in standard. The most I see this card being used right now is in a control paladin shell, maybe to try and fight against combo. I mean, it'll just be good in control paladin because it's just 3 mana. Stop. Whatever you're doing, stop it. You don't get to do that anymore. And I think the important part of this card is that it is very different from Ice Block in that it's not reactively uninteractive, it is proactively uninteractive, meaning that you get to choose you get to say like on demand your opponent doesn't get to do something their next turn. Like they get to develop still and spend their mana and draw their card and everything, but they don't get to make meaningful decisions with what happens to you. Like they get to kind of control what happens on the board, but if you're playing a deck with this card in it, you probably don't really care about what's happening on the board. So the kind of fight you're fighting is what happens with your face. So you get to choose at any point in the game, 3 mana, your decisions don't matter next turn. And that is, I think that's really, really bad to have in the game. I think this card's dangerous for the overall long-term health of the game because if they like they've effectively printed 3 mana restrict design space because now they can't print any fun wacky OTK combos with Paladin for risk of this card making it too good unless they're willing to nerf this later down the road if a combo deck like that were to pop up and exist. But I this card just seems like too much of a risk in terms of design space and health of the game long term and even in wild. I think this card will actually may just single-handedly push Exodia Paladin and Anyfin Paladin like up to tier 1 because I mean what they need is time and to fight against decks that are trying to like kill them in one turn or do busted things they just get to say 3 mana stop. I get to take an extra turn, basically. Like you still get to develop, but you don't get to hit me, and I get to draw a card and get closer to my game plan, or ending the game in the way that I want to. And I think that's really, really dangerous to have in the game. And I, I just don't see the payoff for printing this kind of effect. Making a hero immune is really, really dangerous, and the fact that you can do it on demand with no real way to combat that outside of your opponent timing a Lotheb just right or playing a Nerubian Unraveler in standard. I think it's just a recipe for disaster, and I just don't see why this needed to see print.
It's really scary with the Uther Death Knight. To me, the like it. I don't think we have currently a very reliable way to make that combo work, but it doesn't take a lot. I mean, that deck was getting fairly popular back when we had Burgly Bully and Auction Master Beardo.
Yeah, I
And
think this card really exists in a weird space where it's kind of like on the knife's edge of if you're using this to go like buy a turn to try and draw towards your consecrate or pyro or quality, then it's fine and it's like like fighting a fair fight. But if you're using this card to say 3 mana stop and then you draw anyfen and then just like kill them that way, or like you use it to buy a turn to set up enough like set up a perfect turn where you just go like auction master beardo like OTK you with Uther, then that's just really, really not fun to play against. And that is like when the card is in like evil territory, basically. I like it's it's so dangerous, and that's my problem with it. Is like right now in standard at least, I don't think it's going to do anything like really evil, but the fact that it exists just restricts design space so much. And I just don't see why they would do that to themselves. It's like they went into the like meeting room and they were like, "All right, how can we make our job harder for as long as Hearthstone exists?" Someone's like, "Print this card." And they're like, "All right, let's do that." I don't know. It just occupies a very, very weird space, and I've said it enough. It's dangerous.
So, if there was a generate combo deck, why not just nerf the combo? There has to be.
The combo deck itself doesn't have to be degenerate. Like we.
Well, it has to be. It has to be from hand. It has to be not board based, and it has to win in one turn, right? Or at least win in a way that is inevitable. In order for this card to be relevant, it has to be a combo deck that does not rely on the board and develops inevitability without board development in a way that wins in a non-interactive fashion. That's where this card is scary. But that means they printed a combo that doesn't interact with the board, has inevitability, and wins uninteractively. I think that those are the scary things. But a card that grants time, this is fundamentally very similar to Frost Nova with Life Gain, right? You stop the board from mattering, and then you don't take damage from burn spells or weapons. And if that is enough for Paladin, which is a deck that has really struggled with control shells recently, the last really successful one, there was the control build with Happy Rag a while ago, and then there was the control build, there was Anyfin Paladin, which is awesome deck, and I think the kind of deck that I would be worried about if that had been more popular, which I really think it should have been. I felt like that deck was really, really powerful, just didn't get its appropriate time in the sun. And if Anyfin Paladin was around and you print this card, I agree that's the issue, but the issue there is Anyfin. The issue there is the inevitable non-interactive combo win condition. And I'd be really surprised if a control tool that requires on-board interaction to be relevant is the thing that's going to push a deck over the edge that doesn't already have way too much stuff.
Okay, so here's the counter to that, though, is that the way to beat those decks traditionally has always been like hit them hard and fast. And if like Anyfin Paladin, for example, like you just aggro them down. But if you have a card that says, I've gotten to the point to where I'm about to die, 3 mana, stop, then that's kind of the issue, right? Is that you're taking away that counterplay that a deck has, at least for a turn, and just taking that away from them, and you don't have any way to kind of combat that. And yes, it only lasts a turn, and it is very similar to Frost Nova, but I don't know.
Well, what I'm saying is they're surrounding the win condition there is Anyfin. And the way it works is a bunch of charge minions, which we know is a broken mechanic, with a spell that gets them all back no matter what you did, which we know is broken. And then a critical mass of control cards. But without Anyfin, none of that matters. Right? Without the way that it wins, the control cards aren't the thing contributing to the problem. If there's a critical mass of issues, you can correct those. But it's all surrounding a core that is an issue. And I agree that if Anyfin Paladin were standard legal, they shouldn't print this card. It's not. It's not playable in Wild right now, because Wild has way grosser things going on than 10 mana get some fish. Yes, I did bring some fish. But the thing I like about this card, the reason why I think it's a net positive for the game is because of the struggles Control Paladin has had existing, and because how it's always needed to rely upon the board, be really, really dependent on equality clears, and be really dependent on expansion cards that control the board. The last good card we had from Paladin that really controlled the board was Tarim, and that was 5 sets ago. And that card is amazing, both offensively and defensively, and it does a lot of stuff. But this is the sort of card you can go time out into Shrink Ray. And I don't think that is breaking any meta, but it's good. And this reminds me more of the Flanking Strike or the Rock Dalar. I don't think it's going to be like the Rexar. This is not infinite value. This is just the let a different thing happen within Paladin, which is a class that has struggled to find identity. Because the only 2 Paladin decks that have been relevant for a while that I can remember, the only 3, are Hero Power Based, and Fish. Those are the 3 Paladins, right? Odd, Even, and Murloc. And Control Paladin's really not been able to consistently find a way to be present in the metagame. I think that cards like this, and while this may be a non-interactive mechanism, which is worrisome, I agree that it's worrisome, it's in a class that can't really take advantage of it that much outside of hitting with a weapon and setting up a board clear, unless they print a gross combo. If they print a gross combo, then yes, I am concerned. Uther has historically been, in Standard, about 3 turns of setup involving multiple 4-mana Brewmasters. That seems okay to exist, right? That seems like the sort of thing that, if that exists, that's about on the same power level as Mechathune, and significantly worse than Togwaggle or Malyghost Druid or whatever's going on, or even Shutterwalk. If Paladin gets to play in that game, okay, that's fine. Now, if it becomes to the point where they have a critical mass of defensive tools, and then 2 turns before they kill you, they just could say, no, this game doesn't happen this turn, no, this game doesn't happen this turn, okay, you're dead. That's a problem because they printed a combo that lets you do that, and it seems like they're moving away from that as a philosophy. If they don't, if they mess up and they make a combo that is non-interactive, kills from hand, does not require board development, then I am scared, but that's a different set of issues that I think don't have to be tied into this card.
Yeah, I think the real important thing here is that it did get printed in pretty much the one class that doesn't have access to like a really good kind of OTK strategy. I feel like pretty much most of the other classes do.
You could probably print this in Warrior. I don't know what it would be. It would be like Ignore Pain or something. Would be the Warrior version of this. But
I mean, that one, Warrior has an okay version of Mechathune. Paladin,
Yeah,
I think,
you're
is
right.
one of the only classes besides Hunter that can't really do Mechathune well. I think that's really
This is it.
important for this.
No, that's it. That's what Ixar was talking about. The Mechathune Paladin. He was talking about that
Oh my
being a
God.
deck.
Did it?
I'm
oh,
scared.
it-
What if it's good? Oh no.
well,
What are we gonna do?
then the Age of Flesh has ended, and you don't have to worry about it. But so the reason. So coming back to your first question, Appa, you asked why. The answer is because look at Hunter in the past year. Rexar has some issues. I'm not going to say Rexar doesn't have some issues. Turns out Beast Tap is overpowered. Hitting a button and getting infinite value for the next 25 minutes the game is going to go on is not okay. But Rexar, Flanking Strike, Wandering Monster, Spellstone, Rockdalar, To My Side, Candle Shot, all these cards made Hunter into the most diverse it has been in Hearthstone's history, with control decks, with mid-range decks, with spell-only decks, with all this stuff, because they printed powerful cards that were different. And I want Paladin to get that too, because Paladin was not my last golden class, it was my second last, but it is the most boring. Priest I find infuriating for a different sort of philosophical reasons. Paladin I find mechanically boring. Because you know what Paladin does? It plays minions, and it plays some weapons, and sometimes it heals, but it usually just hits the board and attacks you in the face, and it's the fairest class there is. It doesn't try and do anything unfair, except for occasionally make its 1/1s into 3/3s. That is the most unfair it gets. Other classes get a lot more toys. They get to do a lot more stuff. They have more variety of their game plans. Paladin feels pretty straightforward, and I want some variety there. And the reason to print this card is to let a non-board-based Paladin exist, and I am excited and hopeful that there's a way for that to happen, for us to have a mech-based Paladin with this and Crystology and Kangor's Endless Army and a couple of mechs and some lay-on hands and Shirvala, and we see what happens. Now, until KNC rotates out, it'll probably be some sort of degenerate cube monstrosity because that card is evil that ruins everything good that it touches, but even then, I am excited for the future of a Paladin that doesn't need the board because of cards like this. That is why.
Yeah, I'm excited to play with this card. I'm not excited to play against it. And I think it's going to be fine, at least for now. I think in Wild it could potentially be like really, really good in Exodia and Anyfin. And I think it could legitimately be the card that those decks needed to really push them kind of into like top tier. But as far as standard goes, I think it's gonna be good for standard right now. I am spooked. I am scared for as long as this card exists.
Yeah, I mean, 3 mana, don't touch me is dangerous, right? Like, it's just a thing that has
Yeah.
historically not been great for the game, but I'm hoping it's closer to a Frost Nova than it is to an Ice Block. And
Yeah,
it's
I'm hoping the best you can do with it is pretty much Frost Nova your opponent, and I'm hoping that we don't get like Ice Block kill you things in the future. But like you were saying, that's not really that wouldn't be timeout's issue. It would be the combo that comes with it.
But that's also what you were saying, is just now they can't print anything like that that might have been fine without timeout, but is now with timeout makes it really scary.
yeah.
And also in Wild, I'm not super worried about any Finn Paladin being
Yeah,
super
yeah,
good because Wild just already has a bunch of decks that are just like that.
I hope
Yeah,
that
I-
is the
I
most
think-
broken thing that happens in Wild.
Yeah, I think timeout existing in Wild to enable those combo decks is pretty much just on the power level what the format's doing, so it's fine there.
Yeah, it's I want them to take some risks. I'd rather they take risks and print some powerful cards that might be design space restrictive, because if they keep just printing cards that are not risky and not different and not interesting, then Paladin is going to keep hitting that hero power button on 2, or maybe occasionally playing overpowered minion buffing cards and on turn 5, and that's going to be the class forever. I'd rather they try something different. So I appreciate that, even though I think there is a healthy fear here. Real quick, each of us make one bold prediction for what you're expecting or hoping to see out of the set. You start with you, Botticus.
But you said in
Not
the
a Mukla
comment,
card.
I'm not allowed
Not a
to
Mukla
say
card.
a Mukla card.
We already know your feelings on the monkey.
I don't know. A card that deals with bananas.
You're okay.
I'm helpless. I can't stop the meme.
You are helpless. Okay, Appa, make a bold prediction.
Shog or Framen.
Is that
Frog
frog and
shaman.
Shaman together?
Yeah.
Oh, I do have a
Frog
prediction.
tribal.
I have a prediction that the Hunter hero card will be aggressively slanted Hunter. That's my prediction.
Oh yes, and Zul'jin we know for sure is the Hunter hero card, and that is the only hero card in the set. We know that for sure. We should have said that. We said that now. I think the format will get a little faster. That's what I think, because it seems like this is a very minion-based set, and so I'm hoping they print good aggressive tools. I am hoping for aggressive decks that don't cut out half of their own cards for a hero power. Really, really hoping. Unless it's Odd Mage, in which case I'm hoping Odd Mage is good, but not too good. Cool. I'm also hoping that we can ask.
How long can this go on?
And we can ask. Thanks to Stefano for letting us use his cover. Check him out in his channel, link in our show notes. Big thanks to Wicked for deck analysis, Hearthstone for deck lists, Liquipedia for tournament info, and Hearthstone tournaments, and YouTube for tournament VODs. Show notes for this week's episode are on our website, CoinConcede.com. You can support our show at patreon.com/CoinConcede. Join us every week live by following us on Twitch at twitch.tv/CoinConcede podcast. Join our community chats and our Discord at discord.coinconcede.com. Read to our email at coinconcede@gmail.com. Follow us on Twitter at CoinConcede. Like some CC swag, heading over to our shop at shop.coinconcede.com. New shop coming at Dad Legend. One design now. We'll be porting over the rest in coming weeks. Big thanks to our producers, Variatus, Tacos, and Donald. And we've got some coin concedes. Botticus, I wrote yours. You tell me if I missed anything.
I would like to coin concede to Hat for writing my coin concede for this week because it was perfect. And it reads as follows. I would like to coin concede to Hat, Appa, Taylor, and Kite. It was so awesome getting to hang out with you guys in person. And I can't wait to bookmark this for a year from now to do it again because it was so much fun. Huge coin concede to SC2 Forever for making my BlizzCon so much less stressful, not having to commute very, very far to and from the venue. It was seriously just, it made the event so much better. And to kind of get to decompress and talk to him every night after the con was good. And then the community and everybody I met at BlizzCon and Cards Against Humanity, because that was so much fun. It was just honestly a great night. Diablo Immortal, because that game is sweet and I can't wait for it to go live. And yeah, the pugs that were in the 2 keys that I did, you guys are the MVPs because
We didn't bring our dogs though. What are you talking about?
Not those pugs. Different pugs. Though
Different
also
pugs.
Coin conceded those pugs. All pugs. They're all good pugs. How about you, Appa?
I mean, I'm just gonna reiterate what both of y'all are gonna say in the Coin Concede, and shout out Coin Concede to all the people I saw at BlizzCon. I had a lot of fun, and also, like Boudica said, /hat wrote, Diablo Immortals, because regardless of the negative publicity you've seen this game get, that game is very good. Bott and I demoed it. We got to play the demo together, and I went from not really caring about the game. I played a lot of Diablo 2 and Diablo 3, and I was like, why would I want to play this on my phone? And then I played it, and I walked away thinking, I want this game to come out right now so I can download it on my phone and play it in bed because it is very clean and it is very good. So I'm excited for that one. Also, Coin Concede to Larry for making that awesome story.
He had a bunch of stories, by the way. I'm going to coin concede to BlizzCon friends, and I'm going to echo what my co-hosts have said, but also big props to people that were understanding because socially it is a difficult environment. Every choice that you make results in 5 other choices not being taken, and I enjoy seeing my friends, but really struggle with the environment of just the number of people and the amount of waiting and this person wants to do this thing and that person wants to do that thing. It's not easy, and so everyone was really chill and understanding and knew how it functioned. So everyone for being cool. Thanks for being cool. Coin concede to Navlis and Bassoon Buffoon over on which podcast? The From the Void podcast. Over talking about Eternal. Very welcoming Discord and community over there. Big coin concedes to Roe and the World of Podcasts for running the Con Before the Storm panel. Super fun. The audio should be up on our feed. So you have that. Chan Man moderated the panel. Super cool dude. Thanks for moderating the panel. Thanks for defending that there's skill in Hearthstone and there's a difference between rank 15 and Legend. And thanks to talking to me at 2 in the morning outside your hotel while we were both slightly intoxicated, along with Andrew and Daniel. That was a lot of fun. Coin concedes to my friends Luis and Liz, who moved to Orange County about 9 months ago from New York City after living here for over a decade. I've known them for a long time, and they met up with us, and we got ramen and donuts sequentially, not simultaneously, and both were amazing. And there's a donut at Sidecar Donuts in Costa Mesa, California called the Butter and Salt, and if you are near there, you need to go there and get that because it's not a flavor so much as a weapon. It's the feelings that you get when you eat something that you enjoy. It's just that. It's just the tingles on your tongue that are saying, I am happy right now. That's all this is. And you should get them.
I'm pretty sure the text you sent was just had a donut at what is it called?
Sidecar.
Butter and salt?
Yeah, a butter and salt donut that was near religious experience.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah.
Near religious experience was the quote.
Yeah. It tastes like feeling happy. And it's incredibly dangerous, but if you're near there and you like feeling happy, you should go to Sidecar Donuts and get a butter and salt. And if you don't like feeling happy, hit me up on Discord. We'll talk, man. It's fine. And then Coin concedes to Mad at Arms. He was our Bleep Bloop card robot, and now he is our card posting troll. So props to him in our Discord for posting all those cool images as they come up. And that's our Coin Concedes. Boudica, where can people find you in the community?
You can find me on Twitter. I'm at BoticusHS. You could follow me on Twitch. Still haven't decided when I'm going to stream again, but that's twitch.tv/Bouticus.
Appa?
You can find me on Twitter at Appa_HS. You can find me on Twitch at twitch.tv/AppaHS. And I will be streaming daily streams starting tomorrow, the 8th. Probably just for a couple hours each day until I get into the swing of things because I don't want to overload myself too much. I'm just gonna stream the time that I would just be sitting at my computer just playing games alone in the room anyways. So daily streams starting tomorrow. So keep a lookout for those.
Word. And you can find me on Twitter at RidiculousHat, on Twitch, twitch.tv/RidiculousHat, but I'm not really streaming actively right now. And then you can find me on Discord, wherever Hearthstone is discussed, at RidiculousHat. And that's our show this week. So keep calm and take a time out. And if you see us on the ladder, coin concede.
Coin concede.
Coin concede.
Man!
Take cold comfort in your victory.
You win. I can rest now. You win. For now. Now, your victory proves nothing.
The day is yours.
I choose death.
You have triumphed.